Watch this video before you buy Omnisphere 3. So if you don't know me, I'm Game from BusyWorksBeats.com. We've trained over 1 million producers around the world. Some have gone to work with Drake, Kanye West, Post Malone, Ariana Grande, French Montana, Young Thug, Polo G, Trippie Redd, J. Cole, Kendrick Lamar, J. Cole, I already said that. Glorilla. Some have won Grammy plaques, some have won platinum plaques. So I want to show you guys why you should watch this video before Omnisphere 3. So firstly, it's because I have a free gift for you guys. If you guys enter the free Omnisphere 3 giveaway at busyworksbeats.com/Omnisphere, we're not affiliated or sponsored by them. I'm literally going to take out hard-earned money out of my own pockets to buy you guys a version of Omnisphere. That's how much I love this plugin. If you're looking for a quick answer, should you buy Omnisphere 3? The answer is yes. Whether you're a new person who's never used Omnisphere before, or whether you're a person who wants to upgrade from Omnisphere 2, the value is way supersedes the price. So I'm giving you guys, just for watching this video, I'm giving you guys, what is it here? I have so many folders. I'm giving you guys 3 analog lab banks and a bank for Omnisphere 2 and a new bank for Omnisphere 3 for free. Just go to busyworksbeats.com/Omnisphere. And when you sign up for free, you'll get these delivered to your email inside of our download vault here. So you want to use this link here, not the one labeled 1. That was an old link. All right. So that is the gist of it. Now let's get into Omnisphere 3 and what the reality of Omnisphere 3 is. Now before, to most people, Omnisphere, they confused it with the keyboard workstation. So instead of buying a $4,000 keyboard like a Korg Kronos right here that I'm using as my MIDI controller, instead of buying this kind of keyboard, that's actually the sounds of Omnisphere. Hold on. Okay, so most people, you know, you get your grand piano sound, and then you could swap it out for different sounds, like your brass tones like this. Okay, these are sounds from my Korg Kronos. I'm trying to show you guys what people thought Omnisphere was before. You know, your general MIDI like flutes. And even synths like this. Now, one limit about a keyboard workstation is they're great in terms of sound quality, but one is the huge price. And secondly, you can't really sound design easily in them. You have to menu dive, you have to know a bunch of stuff. It is fun to sound design in keyboards like this, but you have to do a lot of menu diving. Whereas Omnisphere puts all of that thought process into a plugin form. So now I can just click stuff and quickly modulate things without going into 17 menus. And now I'm getting the sound of an actual keyboard plus the power of an actual, one of the greatest, if not the greatest. I would definitely crown this as the greatest plugin interface. Every person who makes a plugin, including myself, I make software and plugins, Spectrasonics and Omnisphere, that is the bar in terms of where you're trying to take your quality, because you could search any sound just by typing in a keyword. You can, which is basically Google inside of Omnisphere. Omnisphere 3 is not just sounds. They've added these new categories or directories that help you narrow down your type of sound. So before, it was a little daunting to get through 10,000 sounds. You had to kind of either hit shuffle and get lucky, or you would try to narrow it down and you got too narrow and you didn't know where to go from there. Now Omnisphere 3 has basically pre-made sound selection banks for you, so it's easier to just find the types of sounds. And this is one of their weak spots that they've had over the years, but now they're really chiseling down the sound because they had so much to choose from, it confused the average person. So now they have chiseled these sounds down for you. So it makes this alone is extremely valuable. When you have 40,000 sounds to go through, you need some kind of, you know, tour guide. You need some kind of, what do they call those people at the counters? I forgot now. Concierge to guide you through all those sounds. So I've made you guys a free Omnisphere bank, and without talking, I'm just going to play some sounds here. Now, some of these are for trap, some are for a different sound. Here, let me unmute. One thing I love about Omnisphere is how big the sounds sound. You really can't get this in other plugins. How big the sounds are. All right, so I'll even hit shuffle in our own library here, just so we pick random stuff. We've made a little talk box preset for you. Listen how rich and vibrant the sound is. And that's just one preset. Like I said, guys, I can hit shuffle. Now the free presets I gave you guys, it's over 100 Omnisphere presets for Omnisphere 2 and 3. So if you guys don't have 3 yet, listen to how much detail is in this one sound. Just crazy. So I'm just gonna play some sounds for you guys. So I sound design every single sound here. Let's hit shuffle. Let's just keep playing random stuff. Now this, I labeled it a key because I want you guys to play in that key because it has a special resonance effect. See how much character and how much detail you get per sound. Now imagine you have, this is what created a whole new sound in hip hop. For example, around 2014, 2015, I forget what year the first Omnisphere came out. I want to say 2015. That's when we saw the sonics of hip hop change because we weren't just using the hypersonics. We weren't just using Purity. We weren't just using Nexus. We weren't just using Silent 1. Now we have this detail we never really had before. And it comes from the mindset of the creator. Eric Persing, for example, he made this sounds that we used to identify a whole decade. I hope you guys understand that. So he was behind a lot of Roland products, and the D50, for example, that defined how we hear the 90s and what we love about the 90s. When you have a man that's that knowledgeable about the craft behind the same exact product as Spectrasonics Omnisphere 3, of course you're going to have sounds that are just beyond your typical thrown together stuff. Okay, and shout out to every sound designer involved with this project. But when you come from an analog world, you know how much detail there is in sound, how much sonic quality there is to sound. So when people ask me, is Omnisphere worth it? In my head, I'm like, it shouldn't be obvious, but I guess you guys never got to experience the sound. So that's why I'm making this video, because I'm giving you presets so that you can actually hear this for yourself. And naturally, you'll find yourself leaning towards more specific sounds or not. Some of these are patches I made from a different time period, but you guys get them for free. Even the sawtooth sounds very, like it has a lot of headroom to it. It doesn't feel like this static, this sound. Doesn't feel plasticky. I might make a melody just for this video because there's so many sounds to go through in Omnisphere, it'd be impossible to show you guys every single sound. Literally impossible. And Omnisphere is more than just one plugin. It also comes with an effects plugin that has multiple effects in there that you can apply to any melody, any plugin. It does not have to be inside of Omnisphere. Because one of the cool things about Omnisphere was the amount of plugins they have inside the effects rack alone. Now they let you use these same effects outside of Omnisphere, so you can use your own effects, your own plugin chain. So let me get into some of the things I love about Omnisphere. One, again, is the directory. You can go to all these different vibes. So if you're going for the weekends vibe, you would go to analog vibes. I'm going to hit shuffle and we could just play random. So these are built after that nostalgic 80s sound. That one's kind of all right, so you're gonna definitely get the weekend type of sound out of these. Listen how much detail in this one sound. Listen to just how much width and space you get with this. All right, And also too, you can sort by your ratings, and you could 5-star your favorites so that you can find them later a lot easier. Because there is, again, there's 40,000 sounds in here, not just 40. Okay, so for me, you know, if I'm in my weekend bag, I might go to this library because it curates the sound for me. Now you can get even more granular. We can click inside this window and sort by all of the meta tags that each sound has. That's why I said showing you guys Omnisphere 3 is an impossible feat. There's nobody on the planet who could do it in one video with precise, you know, showing you guys everything about everything. It's just a lot to get through. And there's even these advanced filters. You could do or meaning an additional filter, and meaning also, and not meaning exclusive search. So you can, there's a lot to get into with the search feature alone. Again, like I said, it's almost like a mini Google. So let's say you find a sound you like this, and you want this, like a Kanye vibe, but you just want something a little bit different for a different beat. You click on the match tool, and this is the sound match. So you're gonna make a current selection. You can also do this outside here. If you go to your browser, click where it says match, and then click match current selection. So it will go through all the presets in Omnisphere. I don't know if it looks at sonic qualities, tags, or what, but it tries to find sounds that are similar to the sound you just had, but just slightly different so that you're not using the same exact sound. Now we got a Kanye vibe just like that. Now the new feature down here is called the mutate feature. So this takes this even further. Let's say you want just something different about it. You like the patch, but you just want something different. You can click on where it says mutate. And here it will basically create a new patch, just slightly different than that first patch. So here it's a little more metallic sounding. Okay, now also too, you can click this drop down and go to extreme. Shout out to whoever's in my chat. Forgive me, I forgot who it was exactly, but they said put this on extreme mode and test it out. So you can also do extreme mutate, which this will get really quirky in terms of the sound selection. So it does have similar qualities. It just transposes that sound, or not transposes, but it what's the word? It replaces the sound is what I'm trying to say. I actually like that tone. It's pretty cool. And now you can find your own sound just like that. So don't be afraid of the mutate tool. It saves all your versions of mutations. If you guys go to the directory, it says mutations, and that's where you can find those. So like I said, Omnisphere 3 goes really deep. It's almost so deep. Let me just show you guys my favorite sound. So if you click here, go to classic digital. This is one of my favorite libraries they have. So they give you a couple EP sounds. I guess it's like a little taster for their other plugin called Keyscape. So think of Omnisphere like Xbox. You know, they've built the console, and you can buy more video games basically for the console. So one of those video games, metaphorically speaking, is called Keyscape. So if you click directory, you go to Keyscape, you can load up Keyscape sounds in Omnisphere. And not only that, you can use the effects in Omnisphere on Keyscape. And not only that, you could use the the sound design tools that Omnisphere is really good at on top of your Keyscape patches. So I know that was a lot. So let's just go to where it says directory. Let's go to Keyscape, and let's see if we can sort. Let's do alphabetical. So if you just click latest, it should, we could also do A to Z, but I just like latest. Okay. And for example, let me show you guys a classic. Now this is a whole different product called Keyscape. Now, if you're a musician and R&B producer, Keyscape is like a no-brainer. Okay, so if you're producing R&B, or like if you're a sample maker for hip hop and trap, this is a no-brainer because you're going to be making all types of vibes using keyboards. And like I said, people think Omnisphere is a keyboard workstation. To me, you have to put the puzzle pieces together for it to be its complete workstation, because there's so many sounds. Again, my Chord Kronos probably has, I don't know, let's even say it has 1,000 sounds. So yeah, once you guys add Keyscape and libraries like Trillion, for example, they also have something called Sonic extensions, which are basically more video games called Nylon Sky and Unclean Machine. You could basically keep adding onto this Xbox-like experience called Omnisphere. So Omnisphere is way more than just the stock sounds, the 40,000 stock sounds that you get. It's also, when you guys upgrade and you buy Keyscape, for example, you could load Keyscape right up inside of Omnisphere. And all we have to do to access the Omnisphere effects is click out of there and then go to the effects, and we could do any kind of modulation we would, just like an Omnisphere. So I'm not going to sit here and sound design because it might take up too much time. But if I wanted to add this reverb, for example, now keep in mind too, we can add the effects in the effects version of Omnisphere too. Okay, so if let me see, why is this off? All right, here we go. Here's the sound. So we can use all these new effects on our existing library, and it was seamless, guys, to install this thing. It was only 70 gigabytes as an update from Omnisphere 2 to Omnisphere 3. Seamless update. I cleared my computer space just subconsciously days before, and I recommend you guys just do that anyway. But it's a seamless upgrade. All the stuff works the same. Keyscape works perfectly. Omnisphere 2 works perfectly, and it's not some new plugin installed. This is how I could tell they took care of this product, is because it's the same name, Omnisphere. And as a plugin designer, I could tell you guys that only unless my plugin was Supreme would I have the same exact name. Hopefully somebody understands what I'm saying here, because when you have the same exact name, you're basically going to overwrite the older version, and it just has to deliver on that name. I don't know how else to say it, but they really over-delivered, in my opinion. So again, these are Keyscape sounds. I could load up my Trillion library, for example, inside of Omnisphere. Now the question is, I don't know if it keeps, yeah, it does keep your previous starred sounds. Okay, and all the sub libraries too. We have Trillion, we have, again, there's so many libraries they put out. I did not realize until you get into it how many libraries they have. Okay, so again, the directory is going to be you guys' key focus for this new style of Omnisphere, because this is where we kind of chisel down the sound. So the reason I brought up the Keyscape is because here we have samples from the JD800, which we're using Keyscape, I believe. So anybody trying to make their 90s dream sound of like that soundscape type, what's it called, ambient jungle? This is the library for you. And like I said, there's so many sounds, it's literally impossible for anybody to demo all the sounds. It's impossible. Again, when you have Eric Persing, the man behind the D50 that changed the entire sound culture of our lives, I hope you guys understand that. He brought that magic over to Omnisphere. As he should, because you know, when you're that good, you should be running your own company. Man, again, the sounds, my favorite directory is called Classic Digital. There's so many sounds in there. Now, a newer addition so again, before people understood Omnisphere, people thought of it as if they were buying their own keyboard. I think they were just a little misled in their own minds back then with Omnisphere 2. It was more synth focused than keyboard focused, if I'm making sense. Once they dropped Keyscape plus Omnisphere, then you're thinking more like a keyboard. But is it just the go-to general MIDI sound library with brass and all the kind of instruments you would use? You know, you can get some instruments, but they've added to the instrument collection, which is there in Omnisphere 3. This is different than Omnisphere 2, because in Omnisphere 2, they didn't focus, in my opinion, on getting the general MIDI sounds, because everybody else has already done that. They focused on stuff that people didn't have. So they created so much of a difference that over the years, once you get, you know, thousands of customers, now you could go back and focus on the core kind of go-to sounds that we would go for. So now they have strings in here, really lush string libraries. So just impeccable string libraries in here. Again, we can go through, and there's too many sounds to show you guys. Again, I'm trying to shortcut a lot of this. Okay, so again, they kind of tease you with some sounds from, you know, that they could probably add in Keyscape. Okay, so you get the gist. Now, if you're a sound designer and a sample maker, this is the infinite dream for you because the way you can contort sounds, it's not like Serum. A lot of people compare Serum to Omnisphere. These are two different things, in my opinion. Omnisphere can do this, the synth thing. Let's start over, for example. Let's see here. Let's go to initialize patch. Now, you can click on layer A, for example, and you could switch this to a sample oscillator or a synth oscillator. So you can go the retro way of, like, you know, treating this like an analog synth. You can click here to find different waveforms. Let's go to classic waveforms, go to Sawtooth, and they have samples from all types of different keyboards, the Andromeda, the D50, for example. And they're all going to give you a different stack of harmonics. So they've sampled that, or however they do it, wavetabled it. I don't know how they sampled it into the Omnisphere machine. Okay, so that's, you know, you get the Juno 106 saw. So instead of buying a Juno 6 just for the saw sound, you know, now you can do not only stuff you could do in the Juno 6, but you could do stuff you could do in Omnisphere over top of the Juno 6. So it's like combining two different worlds. And that's what is really unique about Omnisphere, is how much detail. And it's built for a sound designer to get straight to the point. You know, we don't have a million windows to be sorting through. So for example, I could add a little filter here. It's already set to a brassy type tone because of the envelope setting. Turn up the resonance. I could lower the octave down one. Let's go down -12. I could have this be velocity sensitive just by right clicking and modulating by velocity. So now I don't have to like go through 1,000 menus just to do simple things. I could just right click stuff and modulate it. Very simple. I could change the range here just with a quick visual. Let's say I want to, you know, make this a little more animated. For example, I could right click the pan knob and modulate this by alternative, which is a new setting. I don't know when they added this in, but this is new. So basically every time I hit a key, it pans to the opposite side. There was very rare any plugins that could do that. Serum 2, I don't know when it added it to their arsenal, but this is a newer feature that I've seen in plugins. Because you know, when I was sound designing on my Prophet 08, or no, my Prophet 6, it had this spread knob, and every time I turned it up, I was like, wow, this sounds amazing. I didn't know what it was called, but it's basically alternative panning. So now every time I hit a key, pans to the opposite side, and now we get this really wide analog type of sound. Let's go up an octave here. Now let's say we want a bigger sound. They made it easier to click inside these, you know, windows to add stuff. So let's go to Unison. And this is how you turn a simple saw into a respace, for example. Just detuning that, widening it out with the spread. You can make it more narrow. So they really thought about, like, as a sound designer, what would I do to make my sound good? Because their sound sources are the best in the world, period. And they go way deeper than just synth oscillators. They have samples that are supremely well done. Because they have, you know, they recruit the best sound designers. When you are the best sound designer, like Eric Persing, when you're in that elite field, because you're so fire, you recruit the best in the world. So that's what Omnisphere is they have people who know how to actually sample some of the craziest samples. So you can click here and switch from synth mode over to sample oscillator. And now we can, again, there's so many filters here. It's a lot to go through, y'all. So my favorite is to go to Winds and look for, usually, is there a flute tab anywhere? Let me eyeball it. Okay, flute, concert, flute, and let's just try some of these here. Now, usually I look for flute sustain. The other ones are more like sound effects. So now I have a flute that I can actually play instead of a sawtooth, for example. Okay, and let me pull this back up to 0. Now I'm showing you the very, very, very basics of Omnisphere. So now it has all the same things we did before, but now it's just a flute. Okay, so we have the same unison. I can add my filter back. Now I wouldn't do a filter on this tone because I want those harmonics in there. But the real magic again is in this quick modulation. Just right click here, do stuff. Right click the filter, modulate it by something. And when you get in the gist of this, like for example, the fine tune, let's right click this and modulate it by random so that it has a random tuning. Let's pull the source in so the range is small. So it just detunes every time we hit a key, very subtly. This will create a nice kind of spread. Now let's make the sound even bigger by going to the effects tab. Here's, man, Omnisphere can do so much that, let's put it this way. In terms of synthesizing inside of a plugin, Omnisphere has, in my opinion, the best effects. Now, some people may debate me and say Falcon has some of the best effects inside of Falcon. To me, the downside of Falcon, and this is not shade towards Falcon, I'm just showing you guys my mindset, is it's extremely complex to use. Like, the way I use Falcon is I usually do their expansions, load them up, click on the effects tab, add whatever effect I want. That's how I usually use it. I don't get into the granular because it can get very, very, very granular to the point where it's just convoluted. And I think that's where they lose me with sound design. But Falcon's also, you can dabble into their effects. But in Omnisphere, this is the best of sound design plus the ease of use with effects. So I can go in here, for example, let's go to the aux channel and let's open up a reverb. Let's make it a velvet. This is one of my favorite reverbs. So we're going to go to the common tab or layer A, depending on which sounds you want to send to the aux. And we're just going to move this aux in. Now we have reverb. So Omnisphere is more than one plugin, like I said. You have the world's greatest samples, you have the world's greatest interface, you have searchability, you have 40,000 sounds, and you have all these new effects plugins. This is more than one plugin that you're buying. You're buying about 20 plugins in one. So what we're gonna do here is add the new effect here under creative. Let's call it, it's called half speeder. This was basically in a halftime reverb. So this is my custom sound design I did years ago. Stumbled across it by accident, and I love the sound ever since. So now we're gonna blend this in. And then on top of this, we can add a delay. Let's add some drift to the delay. Man, tongue twisted on here. Let's do left, right, so they're separated. And just mess with the time between the two. We can even blend it in. So now that half speed reverb is being thrown around, and now it creates like this cloud of sound. And now we have this super haunted. Now let's say my panning is a little too aggressive. We can right click and unmodulate, or we can right click and modulate by the same or different things. So let's do steps this time. Steps gives you multiple values instead of just left, right. We're gonna get multiple values. So let's turn we're gonna hit left, right, center in this case because it's 3-step. We could also do 4 steps or random. I'm not trying to, again, teach you guys everything about everything because, again, it's a lot. Let's make this into more of a pad here. Let's go to our amp envelope. Let's pull back on the attack. So actually, no, let's not do that. Let's go to we got to find out where we can add. I think it's on the main tab. I always forget which tab this is in, so bear with me, guys. If we click on where it says wave, we can actually right click and modulate the sample start. So let's do randomize for now and turn the source all the way up. So basically the sample could start in the middle where like it's less expressive, or it could start at the beginning. We can even reverse the sample. And now we get this crazy sound that you just can't get normally with other stuff. Serum is just now getting into effects. And again, I like Serum. I think their effects are a little, I'm not trying to compare people. I'm just saying their effects are not Omnisphere effects. Okay. If I had to compare the two, they're just two different worlds of effects. Doesn't mean you can't do a lot in Serum effects. It's just two different things. I think my brain gets a little limited around Serum effects because I have to be like a scientist to know how to get the nuance out of it. Whereas Omnisphere gives you creative effects. So you don't have to overly think every little tiny thing about each thing. So for example, let's add a little console saturation from a tape machine. Let's add the wow factor, which is like the like that. Okay, to make this a little more lo-fi. And now we have more of a trap sound here. So you guys get the gist here. And the cool part about this is we can simply just go back to our source sound and click the arrow and now cycle through different starting points. So once you guys have your sound set, you can just cycle through. Now, a lot of these samples I probably wouldn't use for this because these are more like expressive tones. So you're really not doing this in Serum 2. Serum 2 is focused more on the synthetic part of things, whereas Omnisphere has a blend of sampled stuff, real world stuff, plus the synthetic stuff. Plus it has a new effects channel that's impeccable. So you're getting basically three worlds of dominance when it comes to Omnisphere 3. And like I said, it's so complex to get through in terms of not in how to use, but it's so complex in how much stuff it has in here that it would take us a good 5 hours to really get through all this type of stuff. So I guess the final test here is let's sound design you guys a patch or two and just show you guys the process. So let's click here. Let's go to initialize patch. If you're on a multi, you want to initialize the multi so it resets everything. We're going to go to main tab, click here where it says independent. Now again, you don't have to be a sound designer to use Omnisphere. I'm just showing you guys how you can. There's so many aspects to it that you could kind of take it however you want. And again, the sound is so big. All right, so we start off with the sawtooth. So let's say we want to make, you know, the Neptune style. So like, what's that? My milkshake brings like that. Okay, let's create something like that. Let's go to classic waveforms. Let's go to sawtooth and let's go to one of these. I'll just start at the top. I like the bite on this one. Some, as you guys can hear, have a different tone than others. Some are brighter, some are darker. Some are boxier. So these are all just different harmonic stacks and volumes per partial. This one's really bitey. Let's do this one because it's nice and just jagged. Okay, now what we need to do is add unison here. And let's add a lot of depth so we can add more voices. And what we're going to do though is pull in the spread. And this is what creates that like phasey sound. Let me first record the actual like MIDI for it. Detune square sound. So I mean, we can go here for days. Just wanted to show you guys, sound design goes deep. The sounds you could actually choose from are deep. And if you want some free presets, just go to busyworksbeats.com/Omnisphere. I've made over 100 presets for you guys to use in your projects. So a lot of stuff in here. So classic tones even. So it gets crazy, guys. So in terms of use, I think Omnisphere is the easiest to use complex tool in the market, and it has the best UI interface experience out of all the plugins. If you guys want to learn more, just follow my channel. But if you want to enter the Omnisphere giveaway for free, go to busyworksbeats.com/Omnisphere. We're going to be giving away Omnisphere 3. We're going to go live November 15th to choose the winner. So be sure to tap in. Thank you guys for watching. It's Game from busyworksbeats.com. Peace out, guys.